I am Kimba, and I am an adult child. And it is really good to be here today. And this has been a not nervous week waiting for this, which is kind of odd because I've always gotten a little bit nervous before speaking, and this time I didn't. So I decided I wanted to do this, and I'm going to send it in a chat, okay, so that y'all can read it. And I'm going to read it first. And it's my little theme for my talk today, and I'm going to read it out. It's the pinnacle of self-love is not endless ecstasy. It's the heartbreaking process of undoing the life your unloved self built brick by unworthy brick. And I did steal that from a very, very, very close fellow of mine in Sydney, who I love very much, because it meant everything to me. And it's where my recovery is today. So generally, we speak about our experience, strength, and hope, but I want you to know that my experience is a bunch of accolades that has nothing, that's not going to help you know who I am. And in fact, it has kept me from knowing who I am. I could rattle off the 12 years at the conservatory to be a piano virtuoso, only to end up throwing up on my dress and having stage fright, or getting my doctorate before my 22nd birthday and not knowing how to tie my shoes. Trying to get our academic and artistic performance over to men so that I could meet and marry and raise the greatest family ever known. And it was all a big show. And I was really, really, really good at it because I thought that the name of this game called life was to fuck it and press on. And whatever Rube Goldberg was coming down the aisle at me, I became very, very well armored and deflective. So I learned how to be everything that anyone in my midst needed me to be the perfect person. And that's my experience to get into ACA. I did spend over 30 years in the beverage program, taking away any ability to have a resentment ever again. I'm working on that. And I'm grateful for those years, but I was not sober coming out of those years. I was a maniac and a neurotic, and I had no emotions left. There was nothing that could raise my skirt or my eyebrow. Everything was just flat. And that wasn't the way I had projected myself. I was an expressive, life of the party, center of attention, loudest girl in the room, the person you needed to know. And that's the way I raised my children that way. So there's a lot of things that happened before I came into this program. I had 4 children. I raised 7. There were 3 other mothers that couldn't, and I did. I'm not sure about could, but I did. And what I came into ACA with was 2.5 years ago. My father died in the living room downstairs, and he was my big codependent. And I didn't even know what that was. My qualifying ACA is my mom. She's the addict. She's the alcoholic. And I followed her just like a little chicken into AA in the 80s, and we did program and we were big. And then 12 years ago, she came into ACA and sent me 3 copies of the Red Book over the last 10 years. And all of them are not here. I literally never cracked open the cover. I think I read the laundry list a couple of times, and it resonated probably too much. And it meant something to me, but it wasn't anything that I could access at the time. I was literally in full control of my life. I didn't need help, I thought. So when I got the Red Book out, I bought a new copy. I was told to read chapter 8 right away, and that's our solution. And I have lived in the solution to this program since day 1. So that's my experience. That's it, right? I got my strength through this room. And I'm going to say this room because this I consider to be my home group. I don't get all clicky like I used to in the beverage program. I'm not really concerned. My home is where I feel like I can be myself. And everyone in this room knows that I was actually going to take this day and do this in a special place in the house. And then I thought, no, why am I doing that? I do my ACA from the bed. And that's where I have been for 2.5 years in my recovery. And then I try it out in my life out there. But in here is where this is like the sanctum of all recovery. And so many things have happened in here thus far, right? So I would like to talk about how I started to put my life back together brick by brick. I first came out of denial to realize that there was no recovery for me about 6 to 8 months ago. And by that, I mean there was nothing to recover. Everything that I had created was absolutely a reflection or a deflection off of someone else. So I could express my accolades, but they didn't hang anything on me. I didn't really feel good about them. They didn't give me any value because it was decades and decades of like reactionary perfectionism. And that was what I believed was a life worth living. And I was good at it, but it didn't make me feel any different. Right. So the money didn't matter, men didn't matter, grades didn't matter, degrees didn't matter. And then the saddest part of all, the 4 children stopped mattering and they couldn't make me better. So when I first came in, I went through ACA Sydney, and I still consider it, and I'm going to take it from a very close fellow who happens to be in the room. That's my ACA school. So I'd never had a sponsor in this program. I tried to use my own mom as a sponsor because she was so far ahead. I later figured out that there is no ahead in ACA. It's not a linear recovery. This is more like a tomato seed inside a really, really big tomato. And then it starts to blow out and create more of its seeds. And then shit's spilling out the sides and popping out the top. And once in a while, it just rots. And that's how my recovery has been. And it's so multidimensional. It goes in circles and it bloops out the side and it runs along behind. And I can't even control it anymore. Thank God. So I started with the traits because that's what made so much sense to me. That's what I resonated with the most in ACA. And I thought I had them all except for that one that says we're a para-alcoholic. Because, of course, I was a drinker. So I got to keep that one. It was the only one I didn't have until I did the traits work and realized that that was the first one I had. And that I had actually been an addict and an ACA before I took my first drink, before I had my first word. I was already programmed in. And it had to do, I believe, which doesn't matter, with my father's literal deprivation of emotions. He had none. He was a post-war orphan who was his adoptive mother was his mother's cousin, and she was paid to take him so the family wouldn't be shunned in Massachusetts because they believed that people are actually looking at them as some sort of hierarchical socialites. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Nobody had 3 cents to rub together. So my father came to my life as I was born as a desperate, needy man. And my mom was a 21-year-old addict who drank. So which face did I see most was Dad's. And I don't remember my mom at all in my childhood. It was my dad that I reflected off of. It was my dad that I deflected off of. It was my dad that I sought approval in. It was my dad that I made every authority figure like. And that is currently one of the things that runs very deep through my recovery today. So I did the traits, and then I joined the traits workshop meeting in Australia. I've never left. I think I've gone through the traits now probably 8 times. And then I ran the Tony A meeting for 33 weeks. And that service, I mean, I could have been in ACA for about 20 minutes when the meeting got dumped on me. And of course, as a good people pleaser back in the day, I said yes. And I was in deep because I'd never run an ACA meeting in my life. And it became one of the greatest things I'd ever done. The sense of service in an ACA brought me tremendous worth, and it made me a part of the room. And people looked to me to share their joy and their tears and their angst and their chaos. And that's how I built the network in ACA that I have today. So I did boundaries work there, I did traits work there, and then I did my step work there. I did do the yellow book step work. I started in RSG, which is the Ready, Set, Go program that is dispersed through ACA, but we don't see it often. And as a newcomer, I needed it. And it gave me a sense of fellowship in this program. It's different. If the fellowship in this program feels different to me than it has in the last 30 years in the other fellowship. The other thing that was told to me that was really important is that I'm going to need a higher power of sorts in this program, and that my inner children will never grow up. And at first I thought, well, then what the hell are we doing? Today, I'm really, I'm grateful for that. As I integrate these small parts of me, I did not time myself, guys. We don't do that here. As I clock my my recovery, I watched the traits and how they integrate into my life, which I never realized how I can integrate something that I don't want. And in ACA, I have learned to integrate the parts of me that I have hidden away so deeply, I have hated, and I have shunned, and I have held the energy of defense against, which means if you had poked my bear, you would have seen the reactionary teen there. Today, not so much. So my traits work helped me understand that a lot of who I am can be seen in how I feel and thus behave. But it has nothing to do with what I've already done. It has nothing to do with the fact that every one of those laundry list traits was at a high level 10 when I started. And today, some of them are at a 0. Some of them are hovering around the midway. And some of them come in clear 10 when triggered in a certain way. So it's a constant organic recovery for me, where I build it brick by brick, who I am. And how do I know who I am? I have never been who I am. I've never married a man as the person sitting before you. I've never been to a school and gotten a degree as the person that sits before you. These are all completely new experiences for me every single day. And the way that I behave with my own adult children now, right? They're meeting a whole new person today. I am individuating at 60 because it was arrested and robbed from me when I was 15. I ran from the burning buildings of my home. At 15 years old, I went to college because it was safer than home. And it wasn't very safe. I went to college in the Bronx. So it's like I walked straight into danger because of its familiarity, and I sought comfort there. These are the things that I see of myself today. This program has given me a graduating self-awareness, which of course is daily, because today I'm going to be totally different than I was yesterday, cooking for 9 people and having a great time. I had my very first functional family and chosen family Thanksgiving celebration yesterday. And that's because I'm working this program. And all the people that were here at one point or not during the day mentioned that. Wow, this is really different. Oh, this is really nice. It's energetic. So when I got into this program, I was so afraid that I was going to have to lose my friends or not talk to my kids, or I was going to have to drain out my swamp of all the sticky, gross, dysfunctional relationships that I had without boundaries. And in fact, I have done that. But had you told me when I walked in that these certain people would be gone and that these certain people would not have so much weight in your life, I would not have done this. So I caution any newcomers, and I know that we have some newer people in this room. This is not a program where we lose anything. And we certainly don't have to get any more degrees. It's merely a shift in perspective. It's just a shift in perspective. And the empowerment that I receive from seeing that, whatever I'm looking at, whatever steaming pile of shit that is before me, being able to step away and walk around the other side of it and see it for what it might really be has given me all of my power back today. So I was a busyholic. I answered questions before you asked them. I assumed your entire history. And I also was very presumptuous in my ability to fix you. So I was absolutely capable of healing the world without being able to do a single thing for myself. When I came in this room, I was starving. I was a self-starver. I have recently now in program, thanks to another fellow in the room, I've learned how to eat at 60 years old. I suffered tremendous abandonment and neglect, along with having a very dangerous couple of parents. My father was an international drug trafficker who put a suit on every day and went to work on a train with a briefcase. But that wasn't who he was at night, right? And my mother was just simply not there. And when she was there with scary men. So there was no fun. There was no fun. It was all, we talked about this in a small group last night. Happiness was not being beaten up. Happiness was not having to suffer through chaos. Happiness was just a peace in the storm, a moment of calm, right? Where it wasn't going, the shit wasn't hitting the fan. And I cannot believe the sheer amount of time that my whole body and my psyche was forced to put up with that. And then, of course, when I left the house at 15, I created that all over again for myself, over and over and over. So I'm going to wrap up and say that this is the truth about me, okay? I'm still scared. I'm still scared to be in a relationship. I've only integrated one 3-year-old authentic piece of myself. So today I have a 3-year-old who I believe I can trust 100%. She tells me the truth, and I hold her dear. And the adult loving parent that gets to hold her dear and listen up well to what she says and how she feels. Brick 1 goes into place, right? But now I find that every time I had an arrested development trauma in my life, that's going to come rocking in as a 60-year-old woman. And I'm ready, but I'm not psyched. I'm ready. And I'm ready because I have you. And at any moment in time, because I never know when this is going to hit, information will be delivered. A loss will be suffered. A memory of grief will come. And I will be triggered into a part of me that cannot grow up. My adult loving parent has not gotten to the place where we know all the kids yet. So this is my work. And each integration will be another brick in the wall of my life. But it made no sense for me to come here today and tell you about all the great things that I've done in my life over the last 60 years. No, that's not going to happen anymore. My focus is not there. It doesn't matter, right? It's information. That's all. What's important to me today is today and how I feel right now. I trust this room. I have fallen to bits in this room. People in this room have picked me off the floor. And that's something that I didn't know you could do 2-dimensionally, but you can. You know, through a phone call to save my life, to save me from wanting to end all of it. I've never, the thing about ACA for me is that it's the most serious program. We suffer. I feel as though I have come to the awareness that I have suffered the most in this program. And that gives me the ability, the willingness to want to change that. So up and out of that victim seat right away. What's my part? Right? That's where I can be accountable. What's my part? What am I still doing that brings this familiarity to me? Chaos, lies, deceit, dark, dark, dark. Right? What am I doing? What am I saying yes to when I want to say no? Yeah. So as I slow it down, right? There's another fellow in the room that gave me I'm a fast person, right? So slow is fast in this program. Slow, right? And I'm a student. So I'm going to remain forever willing to build my life back to a life. And until then, I'm going to be in this room for this stuff and practicing it out there and then running back here to tell you guys about it. And I don't know how it's ever going to come out, but I always know that I have a higher power. I needed a higher power so bad in this program, and I don't spiritually bypass anymore. I have not yet had a foxhole prayer in ACA. It's all been a please help me understand. Please help me see for what it is. I need the clarity. It's about the clarity, and the clarity gives me the freedom, and the freedom provides me the safety. And then I'm not digging deeper anymore. And lo and behold, one more thing that I know about me. So from the first 60 years, I had to ask you who I was and then accept your answer. Today, good to go. I'm 3 and I have a 60-year-old adult loving parent. And by the way, the critic, I kicked her out early on so that I could do this primary work. And lo and behold, I find her in finances and intimate relationships. So we dial it back a little more. We work a little slowly, more slowly, and a little more deeply. And it's coming. So I believe in it. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I go on blind faith most of the time. I try to tell the truth all the time to me. That's the most important one. And I have learned that I am here. I am truly here. And that was the hugest gift ever. I didn't exist on this planet. I only existed for you. So today I exist for me. And if for nothing else, that is the biggest gift ever. So I'm sorry for a long-winded, odd sort of share, but that's me. And I'm also not an anonymous person. So, and I know a lot of people are very anonymous. I don't give a shit if you cross share my stuff. I don't care. I don't care. I've spent 60 years listening to what other people think I should do. I have special filters on now. Throw it at me. I love you all. And thanks for listening. Bless you.